On March 16, 37 CE, a man lies dying in a villa on the Bay of Naples. He's 77 years old, and for the last 23 years, he's been the most powerful person on Earth. But here's the problem. Nobody knows if he's being murdered, if he's already dead, or if he died hours ago and then came back to life. His name is Tiberius. The Senate hates him. The people want his body thrown in the river, and history will remember him as a paranoid tyrant who ruled from an island while Rome burned. But what if everything we think we know about this man is completely backwards? This is the story of three men: a general who conquered an empire, a politician who gave away absolute power, and a recluse who ran Rome from 100 miles away. They're all the same person, and none of them makes sense. This is the Paradox Emperor. Episode 1, The Emperor Who Said No. To understand how a man becomes the most hated emperor in Roman history, you have to start with a simple question. What kind of person refuses to become emperor? Because that's exactly what Tiberius did. Multiple times, in front of the entire Senate. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because before Tiberius said no to ultimate power, he was the man Rome couldn't afford to lose. The year is 9 BCE. Rome has a problem. For decades, they've been trying to conquer Germania, the wild forests beyond the Rhine River. Every general they send gets slaughtered. The Germanic tribes are brutal, unpredictable, and they know their terrain. So Augustus sends his stepson, Tiberius. Now, Tiberius isn't like other Roman commanders. He doesn't want glory. He doesn't want triumph parades. He wants one thing: to win. And win he does. 3 years, 15 campaigns. He conquers tribes that have never been conquered. He pushes Roman borders further than Augustus ever dreamed. The Germanic chieftains call him the Wolf. His own soldiers call him the Hammer. But Tiberius? He calls it duty. When he returns to Rome in 7 BCE, the Senate offers him a massive triumph, the highest military honor in Rome. Tiberius accepts, but without the fanfare. No boasting, no celebrations, just duty. Augustus is impressed. This is a man who gets results. A man who doesn't crave attention. A man who could be trusted with power. But then Tiberius does something nobody expects. He asks Augustus for permission to leave Rome. Not for another campaign. Not for glory. He wants to retire to the island of Rhodes, to study philosophy and live quietly. Augustus is furious. I'm grooming you to lead the empire and you want to read books on an island? But here's where it gets strange. Tiberius doesn't just ask once. He goes on a hunger strike. He refuses to eat until Augustus lets him go. Think about that. Rome's greatest general is threatening to starve himself to avoid power. Eventually, Augustus gives in. And in 6 BCE, Tiberius sails to Rhodes and disappears from Roman politics entirely. For 7 years, he's just gone. So what was he running from? Some historians think it was political, that he saw the corruption in Rome and wanted no part of it. Others think it was personal, family drama, grief, exhaustion. But there's a third theory, one that doesn't get talked about enough. Tiberius was obsessed with mysticism, astrology, the occult, ancient religions. While in Rhodes, he studied with Greek philosophers and Eastern mystics. He became fascinated with concepts of fate, reincarnation, and divine fire. Maybe he wasn't running from Rome. Maybe he was searching for something Rome couldn't give him. Either way, his quiet life doesn't last. The year is 4 CE. Augustus' carefully planned succession has collapsed. His heirs, his grandsons Gaius and Lucius, are both dead. Suddenly, the aging emperor has no one left to inherit the empire, except the man hiding on an island. Augustus sends for Tiberius, and this time it's not a request. Tiberius returns to Rome, but he makes Augustus adopt him first, not as a son, as a political necessity. The message is clear: I'm doing this because you're forcing me, not because I want it. Over the next decade, Tiberius proves himself again. He crushes revolts in Pannonia and Illyria. He stabilizes the northern frontier. He manages the empire's finances. He does everything Augustus asks. and he hates every second of it. Then, in August of 14 CE, Augustus dies. And now comes the moment that defines everything. The Senate gathers. The Praetorian Guard stands ready. The entire empire is watching. And they all assume the same thing. Tiberius will accept the title of princeps, the unofficial title for emperor, immediately. Instead, Tiberius says, no, not just once. He refuses repeatedly. He gives speeches about how the empire is too large for one man, how the Senate should govern collectively, how he's not worthy of the responsibility. The senators are baffled. Some think it's false modesty. Others think he's testing their loyalty. But Tiberius keeps refusing. For weeks, the Senate begs him. They literally get on their knees. They plead. They argue that without a princeps, Rome will fall into chaos. Finally, one senator, frustrated and exhausted, shouts, "Let him either take the burden or lay it down." And Tiberius snaps back, "The burden of ruling the empire is too heavy for any one man. Unless the Senate forces me, I will not take it." So they do. They force him. On September 17th, 14 CE, Tiberius reluctantly becomes the second emperor of Rome. But here's the crucial part. He doesn't want absolute power. He wants to share it. He makes a radical proposal. The Senate should govern with him, make real decisions, handle real responsibilities. He'll provide military leadership and final authority, but the day-to-day running of the empire, that's theirs. It's an experiment, a genuine attempt to blend the old republic with the new imperial system. And at first, it almost works. For the first few years, Tiberius governs carefully. He consults the Senate on every major decision. He refuses divine honors. When cities want to build temples to him, he says no. When the Senate tries to rename months after him, he refuses. He even makes them debate policies without him in the room so they'll speak freely. But there's a problem. The Senate has forgotten how to lead. For decades under Augustus, they've been rubber-stamping decisions. They've become administrators, not leaders. And now, when Tiberius actually wants them to govern, they panic. They constantly ask him what to do. They defer every decision back to him. They're terrified of making the wrong choice. And Tiberius grows frustrated. When grain shortages hit Rome and riots break out, he scolds the Senate for not handling it themselves. When debt crises threaten the economy, he has to step in with emergency loans because they failed to enforce their own usury laws. He's trying to give them power, but they don't know what to do with it. Meanwhile, Tiberius makes a decision that will change everything. He promotes a man named Lucius Aelius Sejanus to be prefect of the Praetorian Guard, essentially, the commander of Rome's elite military unit. Sejanus is competent, loyal, efficient, everything Tiberius values. Tiberius starts delegating more and more responsibilities to him. He trusts Sejanus to handle things while he focuses on the bigger picture. And Sejanus? He's quietly building his own empire within the empire. But Tiberius doesn't see it yet. Because in 26 CE, something happens that will define the rest of his reign. Tiberius leaves Rome. He travels to Campania, supposedly to dedicate some temples and inspect military installations. But then, he just doesn't come back. He settles on the island of Capri, and he stays there. For the next 11 years, until his death, Tiberius will never set foot in Rome again. He'll govern the empire entirely through letters and messengers. From an island villa, 100 miles away, the Senate is stunned. The people are confused. Historians are still debating why he did it. Some say he was fleeing the political chaos. Some say Sejanus manipulated him into leaving so he could control Rome. Some say Tiberius was grief-stricken after the death of his son Drusus and couldn't bear to stay. But there's another theory, one that fits with his obsession with mysticism. The Pomerium. The Pomerium was Rome's sacred boundary, a religious line that separated the city from the outside world. Crossing it had spiritual significance. It was tied to concepts of purity, death, and rebirth. And Tiberius believed that crossing it while steeped in his occult studies would pollute it, corrupt it, so he stayed outside, governing Rome, but never entering it. Whether that's true or not, the result is the same. Rome now has an emperor who rules from a distance, a senate that can't govern itself, and a praetorian prefect who's accumulating dangerous amounts of power. The experiment is unraveling. Now, you might be wondering, if Tiberius was on an island doing nothing, how did the empire not collapse? Here's the strange part. Didn't. While Tiberius was on Capri, he was actually governing brilliantly. He managed Rome's finances better than Augustus. He stabilized the provinces. He kept the military loyal. And he pulled off one of the most sophisticated geopolitical maneuvers in Roman history, all without leaving his villa. In the east, a conflict was brewing with Parthia over control of Armenia, and Tiberius was about to win it without fighting a single battle. But back in Rome, Sejanus wasn't playing politics. He was playing for keeps. Next time on The Paradox Emperor, the man who convinced Rome that he was indispensable, the conspiracy that nearly destroyed the empire, and the letter that changed everything. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, because the real story is just beginning.